by outrider Kathy Hawk. Number 1 is Vi Raphael, owned by Richard Elwood of Lancaster, Ohio, trained by Rick Hartman, with Scioto Downs leading driver Brett Miller. With a 2, Tag'em is out sick. Number 3, Artie Boy, owned and trained by Mr. Todd Christie of Grove City, Ohio, with Jeff Ace Nisonger. The 4 is Ira's Sunny Boy, owned by Kreitzer of West Alexandria, Ohio, and Kreitzer of Ohio, trained by Ira Kreitzer, with Chip Noble. The 5 is Abby Yo-Yo, owned by Robert and Gail Impson of Cedarville, Ohio, trained by Gail Impson, with a K-Man, Kane Kaufman. The 6, Tyler Scooter, owned by Thomas Carroll of Coshocton, Ohio, trained by Mike Metters, Jamie Dunlap. The 7 is Some More Money, owned by Randy and Walter Hawkins of Old Washington, Ohio, trained by Motion. They're all fan pacing and driving out quickly from the outside. There goes Brave Mox getting the first call here for Jeff Collins. Driving through from the inside, Artie Boy. Up on the outside there in third, that is Tyler Scooter, who is driving on there. Away in fourth from the second tier, Briar's Return. Angled in, racing in 5, that is Ira's Sunny Boy. Next there in 6, that is Abby Yo-Yo. 7th along the inside, that is Some More Money. And 8th and trailing the field after the early miscue, Vi Raphael. Over to the opening quarter they march, and up on the outside, Tyler Scooter and Jamie Dunlap to the point here through the initial quarter at 29 3/5. To the inside, Brave Mox is giving the cold shoulder here to Tyler Scooter as they roll by us for the first time and roll out of the wire with less than 5/8 of a mile to travel. Tyler Scooter trying to clear. Brave Mox has given him the cold shoulder as they step around the clubhouse turn in front of the paddock and on over to the half. Inside in third, Artie Boy is watching over these dueling leaders. Fourth, that is Briar's Return. Next there in 5, that is Ira's Sunny Boy. They step off the half in 59 seconds flat. Off the turn and driving down the backside. Heads are pointed towards 3/4 and up top. Brave Mox with a lead here by a length and a quarter. And to the inside, Artie Boy is still stalking in that garden spot, racing in 2, sent up 3 wide there in 4th. Here it comes as they travel down the backside. Ira's Sunny Boy, and Ira's Sunny Boy looks the leader in the eye and is going right on by here. Ira's Sunny Boy is forging to the front. Inside, Brave Mox could not go with Ira's Sunny Boy. To the outside of there, racing in 3rd and swung up 3 wide. Abby Yo-Yo, 3/4 and 130 flat. They'll pace the final turn and head for home, and on top, Ira's Sunny Boy by 2 1/4. And to the inside, Brave Mox is still there in 2nd. Outside in 3rd, Abby Yo-Yo, and desperately looking for racing room. That's Artie Boy to the top of Power Alley. Less than 1/8 of a mile to go. And down the stretch they come, and on top of the field, Ira's Sunny Boy is rolling away from this field within the final 16th. The battle's on for 2nd and 3rd. This is clearly Ira's Sunny Boy all wrapped up. Abby Yo-Yo to go 2nd, close there for 3rd. It was a 3, Artie Boy, the time of the mile, 2 minutes flat. Ira's Sunny Boy in a new lifetime side of the winner's circle. The official win of the first race, first half of the early double, timed at a new lifetime mark of 2 minutes flat, posting the 3rd win of his career. Here's the 4, Ira's Sunny Boy. A 3-year-old brown gelding by Noble and Sam out of a Falcon Almahurst mare, Sunny Sally. Owned by Barbara Kreitzer of West Alexandria, Ohio, and Lori Kreitzer of Ohio, trained by Ira Kreitzer. Nicely handled here this evening by winning driver Chip Noble. The 4, Ira's Sunny Boy, new lifetime mark, stands at 2 minutes flat at the hands of Chip Noble. Owned in partnership by Sydney and Jeremy Watkins at Dalhart, Texas. Trained by Dave Yoder with Jeff Felt, the reinsman. Number 2, He's a Big Dude. Owned and trained by Mark Cartno at Delaware, Ohio. Dean Collins is up. Number 3, Super Bandit. Owned by Jerry Folk at Delaware, Ohio, and Connie Armstrong at Delaware, Ohio. Trained by Jerry Folk with Brett Miller. The 4 is Hypo Saffer to Me. Owned by Debbie Rucker of Lockbourne, Ohio, and Pete Van Kuren of Glen Rock, New Jersey. Trained by Timmy Rucker with Debbie Rucker. Number 5 is Hard to Get Iliad. Owned by James Kidd of the big city of Newark, Ohio. Trained and driven by Ryan Holton. The 6 is Satellite Dish. Owned by Melody Young of Lorville, Ohio. Trained and driven by Stephen Hettinger. The 7, Max Legacy. Owned by Clarence You Can Call Me Sonny DeLong of Orient, Ohio. Trained by George Anthrop with a K-Man, Kane Kaufman. And from the outside of the 8, Striking Goal. Owned by Russell Herr and James Woodward of Groveport, Ohio. Trained by Danny Collins, Chip Noble, Ian Hersalke. That's the field for the second race. Second field in motion. They're all fan trotting and firing away mid-track. There goes the 4 Hypo Safford to me, driving over the outside of Max Legacy. The early speed ball there is now crossing over to the front end. Away in third, that is Super Bandit. Next to the pylons in fourth, he's a big do. Fifth from the rail, that's DC's Main Squeeze. Sixth along the inside, hard to get Iliad. Followed in seventh there by Satellite Dish. And eighth and trailing the field, Striking Goal. As they trot around the first turn and over to the initial quarter up top, being led by Max Legacy and the K-Man here. To the inside, Hypo Safford to me and Debbie Rocker is stalking right there in that garden spot in two. The opening quarter came and went in 30 and 4/5. And along the inside, Super Bandit trots in third and is being wheeled to the outside there. On the outside, racing in fourth, that is... He's a big dude. Followed there in fifth by DC's Main Squeeze. Up the inside, hard to get Elliott in sixth. Seventh there at a Satellite Dish. And eighth and trailing the field, Striking Goal. As they trot around the clubhouse turn in front of the paddock and on over to the half. And up top, Max Legacy still continues to carve out the fractions here. To the outside, Super Bandit is parked into. They're halfway home in 101 and 1/5. Along the inside, Hypo Safford to me trots in third. Off stride towards the back. Went the one. DC's Main Squeeze off the turn and driving down the backside. Heads are pointed towards three quarters up top. Max Legacy with a lead here to the outside. Super Bandit and now swung up 3 wide to the outside. Here comes, he's a big dude. Along the inside, Hypo Safford to me trots in fourth. Fifth there to the inside, hard to get Iliad. Sixth is Satellite Dish. Seventh along the inside, DC's Main Squeeze. And eighth and trailing the field, that is Striking Goal. They went 3 quarters and 131 flat. They'll trot the final turn and head for home. And Super Bandit to the inside with a lead here. To the outside, he's a big dude is applying pressure to the outside in third. Hypo Safford to me off the turn to the top of Power Alley. Less than an eighth of a mile to trot. And down the stretch they come. And Super Bandit with a lead here. He's a big dude is trying to reel him in, but as they roll within the final 16, Super Bandit is almost there. He's got the job done. Super Bandit followed by He's a Big Dude. Hypo Safford to me was third at the top of the mile. 2 minutes and 2/5. Super Bandit. Getting by final score out of a Coleman Lobel mare, Super Coleman, owned by Jerry Folk and Connie Armstrong, both of Delaware, Ohio, trained by Jerry Folk. Nicely handled here this evening by leading driver Brett Miller. The nation's leading dash winning driver in all of North America. Scioto Downs leading driver Brett Miller steers the 3. Super Bandit home to 2 minutes and 2/5. Victory over the sloppy track, returning 6:20, 3:40, 2:80. Second of the mile was the 2, He's a Big Dude, returning 3:40, 2:60. Third of the 4, Hypo Safford to me, returning 3:80. The early daily double combination of 4 and 3 will get you $16.80. The 1 is Perfect T, owned by Ronald and Veronica Edwards of the big city of Newark, Ohio, trained and driven by Kitty Kidd. Number 2 is Foxy Towner, and with a White Creek Stable Incorporated at Dublin, Ohio, trained and driven by Dean Collins. The 3 is Bensonhurst, owned by Iris Horowitz of Brooklyn, New York, trained by Tim Rucker, Debbie Rucker. The 4 Ethereal is out sick. Number 5, High Speed Connection, owned by Kreitzer of West Alexandria, Ohio, and Jennings in New Lebanon, Ohio, trained by Lori Kreitzer with a K-Man, Kane Kaufman. The 6 is Noble Lane Princess, owned by Chambers, Ewan, Mother of Grove City, and Randy Lee Owens in Lebanon, Ohio, trained by Randy Lee Owens with Jeff Fount. The 7 is Caviar London, home with the Caviar Farms of Vienna, Virginia, trained by Jim Arledge Jr. with Dallas Miller. The 8 is Sheena's a Pank Rocker, home with the Peter Pan Stables Incorporated of Pepper Pike, Ohio, trained by Virgil Morgan Jr. with Brett Miller. For the outside of the 9, Midnight Sammy, owned by Prickett of Waynesville, Ohio, and Prickett of Wilmington, Ohio, trained by Tom Prickett with Jeff Ace Nicesonger, Yen Hersalke. Scratch the 10, Alabama Co-Ed 6. Scratch. This field is in motion. Being sent on their way. They're all fan pacing and firing away from the middle of the track. There goes the 6, Noble Lane Princess, getting the first call here. Driving up on the outside, Sheena's a Pank Rocker is driving on towards the top. Perfect T from the rail comes away in third. Fourth there, that is High Speed Connection. Next in line in 5, that is Foxy Towner. Followed to the pylons in 6 by Caviar London. There in 7, that is Bensonhurst. Followed in 8th here and trailing the field by Midnight Sammy and Ace Nicesonger. Can see them all as they move towards the opening quarter of this rainfall here at gets out. It continues here. The opening quarter came and went in 29 4/5. On by the stands for the first time and heading on down to the half. And Sheena's a Pank Rocker and Brett Miller up top here, leading it by 2. Into the inside, Noble Lane Princess and Jeff out of that garden spot is tracking into a gap at 2 1/4, and third is Perfect T. Gapped out there in fourth, High Speed Connection, followed in fifth by Foxy Tanner. Sixth is Caviar London. Seventh, that is Midnight Sammy, and eighth and trailing now Benson Hers as they step around the clubhouse turn in front of the paddock and on over to the half. And they reach the half in 59 3/5. A second quarter there at 29 4. Off the turn of their long journey down the backside towards 3/4 begins now, and up top Sheena's a Pank Rocker, the lead here by a length in 3 parts. Into the inside, Noble Lane Princess is still there, giving chase in second, a gap at 3, and third Perfect T. Fourth at the pylons, High Speed Connection. Fifth there along the inside, that is Foxy Tanner. Sixth to the inside there, that's the 7 Caviar London as they stroke towards 3/4, and Sheena's a Pank Rocker up top through 3/4 in 1:29 flat. They'll pace the final turn and head for home, and on top Sheena's a Pank Rocker with a widening 5.5, 6-length lead. Into the inside, Noble Lane Princess is trying to come to her. Perfect T to the inside in third as they turn to the top of Heartbreak Lane. Less than an eighth of a mile to pace, and they're on their way home. Driving through Power Alley, and Sheena is a Pank Rocker is all over this field here as they roll within the final 16. The battle's on for second and third. This is clearly Sheena's a Pank Rocker in front. Foxy Tanner to go second. Perfect T was third. Time of the mile 1:59 4/5. Sheena is a Pank Rocker with a first career victory. Here's the 8. Sheena is a Pank Rocker. A 2-year-old daughter of the Panderos out of an Arts Place mare. Needles and Pans, owned by the Peter Pan Stables Incorporated of Pepper Pike, Ohio. Trained by Virgil Morgan Jr. Nicely handled here this evening by winning driver Brett Miller. That's back-to-back wins for the Hitman, giving him a driving double on this evening's cars. The 8 Sheena's a Pank Rocker is home for a first-time victory. First career victory in 1:59 4, returning 4:40, 5:60, 4:20. Second, the 2 Foxy Tanner, 7:60. 880, third of the 1 Perfect T, 380. Well, the 8-2 Exacta is worth $44 even, while the 8-2-1 Try is worth $109.20. The 1 is Southern Eagle, owned by Chester Alt, Chattanooga, Tennessee, trained and driven by Sandy Beatty. Number 2 is Super Mojo, owned and trained by Jeff Dennis, Wilmington, Ohio. Chip Noble is up. The 3 is Striking Arnold, owned and trained by Ron Householder, Westerville, Ohio. Brett Miller at the lines. The 4 is Sunny Kate. The lessee is also the trainer Tom Blankenship of Asheville, Ohio. The K-Man, Kane Kaufman. Number 5 is Jim's Message, owned by John Henry Holman of Thornville, Ohio. Trained and driven by Dave Morgan. The 6 is America's Monet, owned by the Boyard Farm of Greenville, Ohio. Trained and driven by Jeff Boyard. The 7 Sophisticated Miz, owned by the Sterling Brook Farms Incorporated of Sheltonville, Massachusetts, trained by Jim Artledge Jr., Dallas Miller. The 8 is Slate Run Tea Garden, the lessee Sean Mayhew of Canal, Winchester, Ohio, trained by Clarence Mayhew Jr. Sean Mayhew is up. For the outside of the 9, Final Chaser, owned by Leonard Buckner of Mount Eaton, Ohio, trained by Tom Brinkerhoff, Dave Myers. And for the second tier, number 10, Smooth Muscles, owned by David Miller Jr. of Strasburg, Virginia, trained by Dave Rankin, Jim Daly, and the Sulky. Field in motion. Bing, sent on their way. They're all fan trotting in, firing away. Mid-track, there goes the 4, Sunny K to the K-Man, rolling up on the outside, America's Money. From the inside, trotting in third there. That is Super Mojo, right outside, now in third. That is Striking Arnold, outside in 4. That is Final Chaser at the pylons in 5, Super Mojo. 6th there for the rail, Southern Eagle. 7th from the second tier, that is Smooth Muscles. Gap at 2 there, racing in 8th. That is Jim's Message, followed at 9th by Sophisticated Miz, and 10th and trailing Slate Run Tea Garden over to the opening quarter, being led by Sunny Kate through the opening quarter in 30 1/5. Into the inside, trotting in second, that is America's Money. Trotting third, Striking Arnold. 4th and settled in there, that is Final Chaser as they trot by us for the first time and head on over to the half. 5th on the inside, Super Mojo. 6th and wheeling up first over there, Smooth Muscles. 7th to the inside, Southern Eagle stays in. Up on the outside, racing in 8th, that is Sophisticated Miz, followed in 9th by Jim's Message, and 10th and trailing Slate Run Tea Garden. Can still see them all as they trot around the clubhouse turn in front of the the paddock and on over to the half. Up top here, Sunny Kate is going to take him to the half in 1 minute and 4/5. Inside in 2, that's America's Money, and now rolling up on the outside. Here comes Smooth Muscles, and Smooth Muscles is trotting right up alongside of the leader here, looking the leader in the eye. These two on even terms as they spar down the backside with less than 3/8 of a mile to travel. And to the outside, Smooth Muscles can't clear Sunny Kate, who's battled back at the rail here. And to the inside in third, that is America's Money. Outside trotting in fourth, that is Final Chaser, who is gaining ground there. At the pylons in fifth, Striking Arnold 3/4 was trotted in 1:32 and 1/5. They'll trot the final turn and head for home, and battling back Sunny Kate with a lead here. And to the outside, Smooth Muscles still applying pressure. Final Chaser outside in fourth, Striking Arnold to the top of Power Alley. Less than 1/8 of a mile to trot, and down the stretch they come into the inside. Sunny Kate with the lead, and to the outside, Smooth Muscles still there, still coming to her as they drive within the final 16. Smooth Muscles is finally getting the better of Sunny Kate. Smooth Muscles finishing second, the 4, Sunny Kate. Third was the 9, Final Chaser. Down the mile, 2:03 and 4/5, Smooth Muscles in a first career victory. Guarding by world champion Muscles Yankee out of a Balanced Image mare, Babe, owned by David Miller Jr. of Strasburg, Virginia, trained by Dave Rankin. Nicely handled here this evening by winning driver Jim Daly. Of the 10, Smooth Muscles from the second tier. First career victory in 2:03 and 4/5 comes at the hands of Jim Daly, returning 4:20, 2:60, 3:60. Second, the 4, Sunny Kate, returning 2:40, 2:60. Third of the 9, Final Chaser, 9:80. Of the 10-4 Exacta, $7.80. The 10-4-9 Try, $60.60. Run down for the 4, the 1, Southern Eagle, 7, the 2, Super Mojo, 6, the 3, Striking Arnold, 4, the 4, Sunny Kate, 2, the 5, Jim's Message, 9, the 6, America's Money, 5. He's the 1 Always, owned by T.D. Van Camp of Circleville, Ohio, trained by Tom Blankenship with Sandy Beatty. Number 2 is Belly Button, owned by Kathleen Borchers of Bellbrook, Ohio, trained by Gerald Whitaker, Brett Miller. The 3, Endures Forever, owned by Pamela Yoder of Dalhart, Texas, trained by Dave Yoder with Jeff Ace Nicehunger. Number 4 is Heartwarming, by the Nichols Stable of Indianapolis, Indiana, trained by Joe Essig, Chip Noble. The 5 is College Corner Jack, owned by Gilmore, Rogers, and Batchy Jr. They're of Ohio and Florida, trained and driven by Rick Heitman. The 6 is Look Chad, owned and trained by Rusty Lees of Waynesville, Ohio. Chad Lees is up. The 7, J.C. Pride, owned by Todd Luther of Columbus, Ohio, trained by John Robinson, the K-Man, Kane Kaufman. Well, the 8, Firms in Town, owned and trained by Gerald Criswell, Marion, Ohio, trained with Kyle Waiter lines. The outside of the 9 is Meadowland Price, owned by Tamara Hoover and Mike Metters of Ohio, trained by Mike Metters, Jimmy Dunlap. Hit for the second tier, the 10, Special Connection, owned and trained by Dana Taylor of Washington Courthouse, Ohio, Jeff Fouty and her sulky. This field is in motion. They're all fan pacing and driving away from the inside. There goes the pole position. There goes Always on the go there. Driving up in the middle of the track, Heartwarming. 3 wide and on the go there. That is J.C. Pride from the inside, coming away there in 3 now from the second tier. At a Special Connection along the inside in 4th, Belly Button. Outside and caught there in 5th, that is J.C. Pride. 6th along the pylons, Endures Forever. 7th there, that is College Corner Jack. Followed in 8th is Look Chad. Angle to the pylons there. Outside in 9th, Meadowland Bryce, and 10th, and trailing the field, Firms in Town. The opening quarter came and went in 29 seconds flat. Driving on by the stands for the first time and heading on down to the half, and Heartwarming and Chip Noble up top here by 3. To the inside, Always in that garden spot, tracking in second. Along the inside, Special Connection is watching over the top 2 from 3rd. 4th is Belly Button. 5th is J.C. Pride. 6th there is Endures Forever, who wheels to the outside to pick up that cover now as they step around the clubhouse turn in front of the paddock and on over to the half, and Special Connection has jumped it off stride there, scattering the field. They're halfway home, 57 1/5. Off the turn and driving down the backside. Heads are pointed towards 3/4 and Heartwarming with the lead here by 2. Less than 3/8 of a mile to travel to the inside. Always is racing in second, and these two have left the field behind as they race towards 3/4. Heartwarming up top here by 2.5. And to the inside, Always is giving futile chase in second. They race by 3/4 and 127 flat. Backside 29 4. They'll pace the final turn and head for home, and Heartwarming with a full out effort here this evening has opened up by some 6 lengths as Heartwarming, she turns to the top of Heartbreak Lane all by herself. Less than 1/8 of a mile to go, and down the stretch she comes, and Heartwarming with a lead here, and she's opening up and drawing away with every single stride. The battle's on for second and third. Heartwarming well in hand and well in command. Finishing second here is going to be the 3 Endures Forever. It's going to be very close there for third. The 1 Always over the 5 College Corner Jack, possibly time of the mile 157 flat. Heartwarming flat for the 3rd win in her career in just 6 starts here in 2004. It's the 4 Heartwarming, a 3-year-old bay filly by Northern Lock and of a Presidential Ball mare, Passion Played, with the Nichols stable of Indianapolis, Indiana, trained by Joe Essick, nicely handled here this evening by winning driver Chip Noble. The 4 Heartwarming gives Chip Noble a driving double on this evening's card. The 4 Heartwarming returns $4, $360-240. Second, the 3 Endures Forever, $440-240. Third of the 5 College Corner Jack, $320. 4-3 Exact is worth $20.80. The 1 is Maximus de Gladiator, owned by Randy Lee Owens. Ewan in Chambers, they're all of the Buckeye State, trained by Randy Lee Owens with Brett Miller. The 2 is Royal Connection, owned in partnership by Terry Ader and Carvel Simmons, both of Ohio, trained by Brett Ader with Chip Noble. The 3 El Zorro, owned by Stanley Swingo III of Waynesville, Ohio, trained by Jim Artledge, Jim Daly. The 4 is Arnold Dale Neff, Asheville, Ohio, who also trains Come On Bobalee with Jeff Ace Nicehonger. The 5 Couple Doodle Doo is out sick. The 6 Perfect Approach, owned by Leonard Buckner of Mount Eaton, Ohio, trained by Tom Brinkerhoff, Jeff Fount. The 7 Marvin Stewart, owned by Russell Herr and James Woodward of Groveport, Ohio, trained by Russell Herr. The K-Man, Kane Kaufman. With the 8, John Henry Michael, owned by John Smith, Henry Hank Kaufman, and Mike Metters. They're all of Ohio, trained by Mike Metters, Jimmy Dunlap. With the 9, Nuclear Falcon, owned in partnership by James Sparks and Kip Yates of Ohio, trained by Dan Colcrite with Sandy Beatty. And for the 2nd tier, number 10, Yakety Jack, owned by Sharon Blevins of Marysville, Ohio, trained by Delbert Blevins, Dave Myers, and the Sulky. This field is in motion. They're all fan pacing and driving away from the middle of the track. There goes the 4. Come On Bobalee up on the outside of there. Perfect Approach is joined this one. They spar into the first turn. Up on the outside of there in 3rd, Royal Connection. Outside in 4th, that is Nuclear Falcon from the rail in 5th. Maximus de Gladiator. 6th from the 2nd tier, Yakety Jack. Away in 7th, there is El Zorro. 8 to the pylons, Marvin Stewart in 9th, and trailing the field, John Henry Michael backed off the wings of the starting gate. Can see them all as they race around the first turn and over to the initial quarter. The opening quarter came and went in 28 4/5. Driving on by the stands for the first time and heading on down to the half, and Perfect Approach up top here for foul to the point, leading it by a length and a quarter. Into the inside, racing into, that is Come On Bobalee right there, nose to helmet off stride there. In 3rd went Nuclear Falcon, sliding through to be 3 now, that is Royal Connection. Outside in 4th, El Zorro. To the inside, Pendant in 5 now, Maximus de Gladiator, as they step around the clubhouse turn in front of the paddock and roll on over to the half. Up top here, that's Perfect Approach through a half in 58 2/5, a 2nd quarter in 29 3/5. Off the turn and driving down the backside. Their long journey towards 3/4 begins now. Up top, Perfect Approach continues to carve out the fractions, leading it by a length and a quarter. Into the inside, Come On Bobalee is still right there, nose to helmet racing in 2. A gap of 4 in 3rd, that is Royal Connection. At the pylons racing in 4th, that is Maximus de Gladiator. Outside in 5, El Zorro. 6th on the inside, Marvin Stewart. 7 to the outside, Yakety Jack. 8th in there, that is John Henry Michael. And 9th in, trailing the field off stride there, that is Nuclear Falcon. They went 3/4 and 128 3/5. They'll pace the final turn and head for home, and Perfect Approach with the lead here by 2 as they turn to the top of Heartbreak Lane. Less than 1/8 of a mile to go, and down the stretch they come, and Perfect Approach is absolutely rolling away here. Perfect Approach is going to roll coast to coast. Perfect Approach in front. Come on, Bobalay to go second. Royal Connection was third. The time of the mile, 1:57 and 2 Perfect Approach. Out of a big towner mare, Big Katie, owned by Leonard Buckner, Mount Eaton, Ohio, trained by Tom Brinkerhoff. Nicely handled here this evening by winning driver Jeff Fout. 8 to wire the 6, Perfect Approach, returning 540, 360, 240. Second, the 4, come on, Bobalay, returning 380, 260. Third of the 2, Royal Connection, returning 220. The early pick 3, 3 of 3, 2160. The 6-4 exact, 1620. The 6-4-2 try, $41.20. Number 1 is SL Orphan Annie, owned and trained by Bill Spiegel at Camden, Ohio, with Jeff Ace Nice Hunger. Number 2 is Towner Sally, owned by Gilmore, Rogers, and Batchy Jr., they're of Ohio and Florida, trained and driven by Rick Heitman. The 3 is Lobro Sammy, owned by Betsy Bright of Stevenson, Alabama, trained and driven by Dean Collins. The 4 is Ludi Floozy, owned by the Eagle Country Stables Incorporated of Olivet, Michigan, trained by George Anthrob with a K-Man, Kane Kaufman. The 5 is D. Landrum Racing Stable of Maryland and Mackenzie of Ohio's Mary Ann's, trained by Dennis Landrum, Jim Daly. The 6, Mary Go Now, is out sick. The 7, Finn Tish First, owned by Richard Finfrock of New Carlisle, Ohio, trained by Steve Rosenbaum with Brett Miller. The 8 is Forever Beautiful, owned and trained by Clyde Woodrow, South Charleston, Ohio, Cow Aider, the reinsman. For the outside of the 9, TC Shadow, owned and trained by John Nelson, Perrin, Lebanon, Ohio, JD Perrin is up. And for the second tier, number 10, Narissa Hanover, owned and trained by Ted Rupa, Dayton, Ohio, Chip Noble, and Herselke. That's the field for the 7th race. On a break well before the start. Field in motion. They're all fan pacing and driving out from the rail. There goes SL Orphan Annie, placed on the go there. Driving up in the middle of the track, Mary Ann's is on the go. Coming away in third, that is Towner Sally. Fourth from the second tier, Narissa Hanover. Fifth in there, that is Lobro Sammy. Sixth along the pylons now, that is Forever Beautiful. Followed in seventh there by Fintish First. Eighth along the inside, TC Shadow. And ninth in trailing the field after the early miscue, Ludi Floozy, the K-Man. Can see them all, but he's got her back down pacing here as they wheel towards the opening quarter. The opening quarter came and went in 29 and 4/5. Marching on by the stands for the first time and heading on down to the half, and SL Orphan Annie the point here. And to the outside, here comes Towner Sally, and Towner Sally is ranging up alongside of the leader here, looking to take the lead as they enter the clubhouse turn, and Towner Sally on the outside leads it by length. And to the inside, SL Orphan Annie, is she going to let her go? We'll step by the halfway mile mark of the race, and SL Orphan Annie is now giving the cold shoulder here to Towner Sally as they step off the half, and 59 and 1/5 off the turn and driving down the backside. Heads are pointed towards 3/4 from the outside. Towner Sally on top by a length. To the inside, SL Orphan Annie is racing in two, and now Towner Sally is clear to the top here with less than 3/8 of a mile to travel. SL Orphan Annie at her whip taps is racing in two, angled off the pylons in third. Here comes Mary Ann's. Fourth, that is Narissa Hanover. Fifth, that is Lobro Sammy. Sixth to the pylons there, that's the 7, Fintish First. They race by 3/4 and 1:29 and 2/5. They'll pace the final turn and head for home, and Towner Sally with a lead here. To the inside, SL Orphan Annie is still there in second. Mary Ann's to the outside, laboring a bit while parked out in third, and now swung up 3 wide. Here comes Fintish First to the top of Power Alley. Less than 1/8 of a mile to go, and down the stretch they come, and with a lead, Towner Sally by the outside. Fintish First is charging hard in between a Mary Ann's. Up the inside, here's Narissa Hanover as they come to the wire. This is Mary Ann's in front. Very close there for a second. A wall of them across the track. I believe it was the 9, TC Shadow. A photo for show. Time of the mile, 2:01 flat. Mary Ann's. 5921 unofficial. 592. The 5 Mary Ann's is a 5-year-old bay mare by Walton Hanover out of a Nero mare. Nero's Parfait. Owned by D. Landrum Racing Stable of Maryland and Mackenzie of Ohio. Trained by Dennis Landrum. Nicely handled here this evening by winning driver Jim Daly. That's 2 wins on this evening's card for Daly, giving him a driving double as he steers the 5 Mary Ann's home, a winner in 2:01 flat. Sally 260. The 5.9 exacta is worth $288.20, while the 5.92 try is worth $1,489.40. The one is Crosswind Sally Jane, owned by Kayla Nestor of Orient, Ohio, trained and driven by Terry Groves. Next, the 2, My Lady's Pocket, owned by Patricia Tatum of Columbus, Ohio, trained by John Tatum with Jamie Dunlap. Out of the paddock next, the 3, Lady Be Dart, owned by Noah Stover of Sunbury, Ohio, trained by Jeff Stover with a K-Man, Kane Kaufman. Number 4 is Go By Air, owned by Michaela Pollock of Asheville, Ohio, trained by Jim Pollock Jr., Dave Ehrenberg II. Number 5, Laurel Iris, owned in partnership by Jennifer Brown and Douglas Parcel of Upper Sandusky, Ohio, trained by Brian Brown, Jim Daly. The 6, Sanity Surprise, owned by Richard Stevens of Columbus, Ohio, trained by Roy Murphy, Brett Miller. Number 7, Jasper Willow, owned and trained by John Nelson, Perrin, Lebanon, Ohio, J.D. Perrin is up. The 8, Anna Louise, owned in partnership by Douglas McGraw of Ohio and Paul Johnson Jr. of Kentucky, trained by Chauncey Love, Ace Nicehonger. For the outside of the 9, Cam Love, owned and trained by Glenn Collins of Hamilton, Ohio, Cowwader is up. And for the 2nd tier, the 10, Sensuous Summer, owned and trained by Gary Sweet, Majowski of Lebanon, Ohio, Roy Wilson, Ian Herselke. That's the field for the 9th race, first half of the late double. Kick off the late daily double. Field Emotion. Bang, set on their way. They're all fan pacing and firing away from the inside. There goes My Lady's Pocket right alongside, and Lady Be Dart driving up in the middle of the track. Laurel Iris from the rail in 4. That is Crosswind Sally Jane. Got to the outside in 5 and marching on there. Saturday Surprise. 6th from the inside, Go By Air. 7th from the 2nd tier, that's Sensuous Summer. 8th along the pylons there as they step towards the opening quarter. Jasper Willow, and the 2 trailers here are Anna Louise and Cam Love. Can see them all as they race over to the opening quarter. The opening quarter came and went 10:29 and 2/5. On by the stands for the first time and heading on down to the half. Lady Be Dart up top here with the K-Man, but driving up on the outside. And Laurel Iris is now brushing to the front. Laurel Iris to the front of the inside. And Lady Be Dart is stalking into, rolling into the wire with less than 5/8 of a mile to travel. Inside in 3rd and watching over the top 2. That's My Lady's Pocket, a gap of 5 there to the outside. Racing in 4th, Saturday Surprise. 5th on the inside, Crosswind Sally Jane in front of the paddock and on over to the half. And along the inside in 6th, Go By Air. They're halfway home, 58 seconds flat. Inside, racing in 7th for the 2nd tier. That's Sensuous Summer. Outside in 8th, Jasper Willow. 9th to the inside, Anna Louise. And 10th and trailing the field and losing contact with this field is Cam Love. Rolling down the backside, nearing 3/4, and Laurel Iris with the lead here is now going to be put to the test. To the outside, My Lady's Pocket is now rolled up right alongside of the leader here. These 2 on even terms. Inside in 3rd, Lady Be Dart. Outside, racing in 4th, Saturday Surprise. Your 3 to 5 punter's choice has got 3.5 to make up. 3/4 and 1:28 and 4/5. They'll pace the final turn and head for home, and Laurel Iris has battled back for the lead here. And to the outside, My Lady's Pocket in 2, ready to be swung 3 high. Saturday Surprise at the pylons in 4th. Lady Be Dart to the top of Power Alley. Less than 1/8 of a mile to pace, and they're on their way home. Driving through Heartbreak Lane. Up top, Laurel Iris in the lead here, and they're not going to get to her. She's almost home. She's home free a winner. Laurel Iris in front. Finishing 2, My Lady's Pocket. 3rd was the 6th, Saturday Surprise. The time of the mile, 1:59 and 1/5. Laurel Iris. The 5, Laurel Iris. A 7-year-old bay mare by Falcon Seals. 3rd of a Holmes Hanover mare, Laurel Hanna. Owned by Jennifer Brown and Douglas Parcel of Upper Sandusky, Ohio. Trained by Brian Brown. Nicely handled here this evening by waiting driver Jim Daly. For Jim Daly, that's 3 wins on this evening's card, giving him a driving triple as he steers the 5 Laurel Iris home to return 940, 520, 340. Second, the 2 My Lady's Pocket, returning $583. Third to the 6 Saturday Surprise, $220. Well, the 5-2 exacta is worth $59 even, while the 5-2-6 try is worth $203.20. Here are the parading pacers. The 1 is Ty Rogers, owned and trained by John Nelson, Perrin, Lebanon, Ohio. J.D. Perrin is on. Number 2 is Golio 1, owned in partnership by Russell Dalton and Larry Scares of Franklin, Ohio, trained by Barry Langley with Kyle Wader. The 3 is Earn Enough, owned by Lowell Prickett of Wilmington, Ohio, trained by Tom Prickett with Ace Nicehonger. The 4 is Western Attorney, owned by Barnett Zimmerman of Deerfield, Illinois, trained by Joe Morgan Jr. with Brett Miller. Number 5 is First Time Adam, owned and trained by Harold Edward Walters in London, Ohio, Dallas Miller. The 6 Noble Strike, owned by Jason Bloom of Plain City, Ohio, trained by Jim Shelton, Jim Daly. With the 7 is Odd Man, owned by Gwen Thompson of Piketon, Ohio, trained and driven by T.T. Terry Thompson Jr. On the 8, Flaming Rocky, parading last, owned by Jason Barton, Lebanon, Ohio, trained and driven by the K-Man, Kane Kaufman. For the outside of the 9, Profiler, owned and trained by George Anthrop of Marshall, Michigan, Jamie Dunlap. And for the second tier of the 10, Cam's Log Splitter, the lessee is Scott Tyler, Georgia, Sunbury, Ohio, who also trains Dean Collins, Yanda Sulky. That's the field for the 10th and final second half of the. This field is in motion. Being sent on their way. They're all fan pacing in the super effective finale and firing for the lead. Middle of the track, Western Attorney driving through from the rail. Ty Rogers driving up 3 wide to join the fray there. That is Flaming Rocky. 4 wide into the first turn. Profiler at the pylons in 5th from the second tier. Cam's Log Splitter. 6th on the inside. First time Adam showing there in 7th. That is Golio 1. 8th along the pylons, Earn Enough. Skimming the pylons in 9th. That is Noble Strike in 10th. And trailing Odd Man and TT can see them all as they race by the opening quarter in 29 1/5. On by the stands for the first time and racing on down to the half, and Profiler is driving up on the outside tier. Inside, that's Western Attorney. Western Attorney is now giving way to Profiler, who grabs control of the racetrack, entering the clubhouse turn. Into Western Attorney, watching over the top 2 from 3rd. That is Ty Rogers, wheeled up first over the outside in 4th. That is Cam's Log Splitter, the gray there. Second over the outside, racing in 5, Flaming Rocky, as they step off the half and 58 seconds flat. Off the turn and driving down the backside of their long journey towards 3/4 and the superfecta finale begins now. Up top leading the way, that's Profiler, now driving over the outside, racing into first up, Cam's Log Splitter. At the rail in 3rd, Western Attorney. Second over the outside, looming the danger, lurking in the weeds in 4th, and continuing to close, that's Flaming Rocky. Outside racing in 5, first time Adam off the pylons in 6, Ty Rogers. 7th is Earn Enough. 8 to the outside, Noble Strike. They raced by 3/4 in 1:29 1/5. They'll pace the final turn and head for home, and Cam's Log Splitter with a lead there. Flaming Rocky is setting sail in 2nd, being ready to be swung 3 high for the stretch drive. First time Adam to the top of Power Alley. Less than an 1/8 of a mile to go. And down the stretch they come, and Cam's Log Splitter with the inside is desperate. Into the outside, Flaming Rocky, and 3 wide. First time Adam is charging hard to the outside. Cam's Log Splitter, first time Adam, Cam's Log Splitter, and first time Adam. Those two hit the wire together. Noses apart, 2 minutes and 2/5. Photo for a win. 10-5-8-6 unofficial. 10-5-8-6 unofficial. The 10 Cam's Log Splitter is trackside of the winner's circle. 6-year-old Greg outing by Cam's Magic Track out of a log mare. Happy Hocus Pocus. The lessee is also the trainer, Scott Tyler, Georgia, Sunbury, Ohio. Nicely catch, driven to victory by Dean Collins. With the 10 Cam's Log Splitter, first victory in 2004. Home winner in 2 minutes and 2/5, returning $13.80, $12.85. Second, the 5, first time Adam, returning $39.40, $11. Third to the 8, Flaming Rocky, $4.80. Fourth, the 6, Noble Strike. Well, the 10-5 exact to 186 even. 10-5-8 try, $5,412.60. The superfecta 10-5 all 10-5 all $1,333.60. Late double 5-10 $172.80. The late pick 3 2 of 3 $15 even. Super Night, it's this Saturday, September the 11th. First race post time 7:30, over $1 million in purses.